say, can you see that the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts
we are very blessed to have Dr. Harris and Evelyn Harris here with us today, Josh's parents, and we wanted to give them an opportunity. They wanted to speak, and so we wanted to give them an opportunity to do so. So we're going to turn that over to them and let them say a few words from their heart.
I have to say, it was easier when I was sitting down there. On Josh's door, he's had this American flag, and over it, it says something about our nation helping those who cannot help themselves. And that is what we've been doing, the best job we could ever ask of our American soldiers. Sam and I could not have gotten through these months without the support from the Navy and from these guys. They took our arms then, and they lifted us up, and they got us in the house. And I'm not sure how, but they have been there with us ever since.
My name is Rancher Harris. I'm Josh Harris's brother. I'm his older brother. Today we're at a great event for my brother. It's the Memorial Ride, the first annual, and it's a great thing. I mean, we've been to a lot of these events, and this stands out because once again it's Lexington as a town coming out, and Davidson County coming out and showing us how much Josh meant to everybody. I don't know, it's a little overwhelming. It's very difficult to talk about.
We're here for a young man today who fought real hard to get into the Navy SEALs and finally in the end wound up giving his life for our country. There is no way to repay a family for the loss of their loved one. There's no way that we can repay that young man for the life that he gave. He willingly went into battle for us so that we could continue to enjoy the freedoms that we have in this country today.
He had near genius IQ, Hollywood good looks, unbelievable athlete. He was very loving, a wonderful son, and was always there for us.
I loved when I could make him laugh, because it was the best laugh. It was just, you knew you were, you knew he felt it deep down inside.
He always had a kind of smile on his face, and you never quite knew exactly what that meant.
To kind of put it in perspective from my point of view, and I think a lot of people would say the same thing about him, is that when you first met Josh, he was the kind of guy that you just hoped that you had something in common with, because you just wanted to be his friend. He just had that effect on people.
They say when you lose a child, you lose part of yourself, and I definitely lost part of myself. It's gone forever, you know. But the best thing of all is this: I have the sweetest memories of that boy. He was the best son anybody could ever have. When he was 6 years old, I dressed him up as the greatest American hero. There was a program on at that time. And he said that always said, you know, that was like a big influence. I think Josh has wanted to be a Navy SEAL since he was in high school. And I just think it was like one of those dreams that we all put out there in some spare pocket and never think it's going to come true.
We would ride three-wheelers, we would build forts out in the trees over here, we would do a detective agency. My mom was like, never play gun at anybody, never point, you know, we didn't grow up, oh, let's have gunfights. We did, I mean, but as twins, we got a lot of boy toys more than we did girl toys. So, if we got a, you know, but he just, I think it's just something that he has always had in the back of his mind and got to a point, got to an age that he was like, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to be able to do it.
His nickname, everybody had nicknames, but his nickname was Baby Gap. We're not quite sure. He wasn't that slick a dresser, but occasionally we get accused of being a model. This was done when he was, you know, just a child, and it doesn't exactly look like our farm, but I think it looks like the barn, and it's just sort of, just a pretty watercolor. Josh started drawing very, very early, and early on I noticed with all of his drawings, even by the age of 3, they were, you know, you always can tell when a child is real observant of things because the faces would have ears, nose, mouth, you know, 2 eyes and some hair somewhere on them, you know, which was really unusual. But then his kindergarten teacher called me in. She comes out with this piece of art. It has a picture of, I'm not sure what on it. And then she explains. And she says, okay, now, I asked everybody to draw a picture of a fat man. And what he had drawn was a person walking onto the page. So all you saw was an extended foot and then a stomach with buttons going down it. And then at the top, no face, but the end of a cigarette, you know, as if it were burning. She said, I probably have better artists in my room, but I do not have anybody with this imagination. She said, this just blows me away.
With his work, I don't think he titled a lot of his work. I think he didn't want to narrow or limit anybody's view of what they're looking at and let them fill it out for themselves, you know, leaving the blanks and see what they see.
Josh had set up his art over here. There was a, well, there should be a whole like bookcase behind there where he kept up his paint brushes and his, you know, paints and charcoals and, you know, newspapers and old Holstein certificates that occasionally he used in his paintings. I mean, it's just crazy all the things that he used. When my friends started cleaning up and putting all the youth theater scenery and everything, she was like, Evelyn, what about all the paintings up on top there? And I'm like, I don't know anything about any paintings up there. And she's like, well, you need to go up there and look. Kiki and Lee helped me, and we went up there, brought down about 100 or more, you know, paintings, watercolors, chalk drawings, collages, all that, you know. And it was amazing. It was just amazing.
I think I remember his interest in some self-portraits. I think he did a number of self-portraits, and there was a kind of introspection to the work as I remember. He always had a sort of comfort in his individualism and a comfort in being with people, but he was going to cut his own path most of the time. So I wasn't surprised when he shifted from art. His interest in the body and the challenges, the limits of the body, I think you see in his art, but you also see it in himself.
He was so strong. Even as a football player in high school, he could never gain weight. He was number 55, and that his brother had been number 55 before.
I think we're a young team last year, but this year we got a lot of experience, so I say experience is the strongest point.
He'd run down the field, and there'd be somebody, he was a linebacker, there'd be somebody there, and he'd just plow him down, So he was given the gift from God of a lot of strength, you know.
I think he always kind of wanted to go into the military. There's something about that world that he really excited him. He was not afraid to express himself, or even though he was a quiet guy, but you know, he has that other side to him. We had a time capsule at church when we were 14, I think, and we buried it for Sunday school, and they dug it up, and this was like last year, I guess. And the minister read that one of the things that Josh talked about was how we need to defeat terrorism, and he was 14 then. So it was interesting that I didn't realize that, you know, that he had put that in there, that he was already at 14 aware of evil. So I just think that there are a lot of factors, and I think that he wanted to protect us, and that's how he thought about it. And there was nothing else he wanted to be doing.
Once he became a SEAL, his interest was totally on the SEALs, and he could not have tolerated a 9-to-5 job. This was his calling.
A 36-year-old Navy SEAL who did his basic training in Coronado has drowned in Afghanistan. Special warfare operator First Class Joshua Harris is pictured here with his parents. He drowned over the weekend after turbulent waters swept him away while he was crossing a river. His death happened during combat in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Harris was also a highly decorated combat veteran who had earned the Bronze Star Medal.
Well, it's burned into my memory. It was a Sunday morning, and the 6 SEALs came to tell us what had happened. And evidently, it was a night crossing of Konar River. And Josh was the lead man, and he was to take a rope across, and so the rest of the guys could make it. And it was, they'd had a lot of snow melting and some rains, and the river was, water was pretty rapid, and there were some rapids down below and some falls. And evidently when he started across, he got part of the way and the water was too strong, and he actually cut the rope, and thinking that he could make it to one shore or the other, and it was a little too strong for him. And they found him the next day, 28 miles downstream.
It's just not the same, and it's never going to be the same. There's always just going to be that void, and how do you fill it? You can't, because it just falls out again, you know. You can stuff something in there, and then it will just evaporate or leave. I think for me, it is a sense that I'm not as complete as I was. And I think, you know, people get swallowed up with grief, and I could go that route. You know, I could become bitter and cynical, and you know, but I can't do that, because, you know, people have said that to me. You know, Josh wouldn't want you to be sad. Josh would want you to be happy, you know. There's this beautiful smile. No, I mean, that's how we were with each other, but it's, you know, you look at these and I don't know. I mean, look at kids. It's like such the innocence and such bright eyes and smiles, and then you grow up. When he was in Afghanistan or Iraq, you know, I knew he was right across the water, you know. And maybe that's where he is. Maybe he's just right across the water somewhere. Maybe he's right here. Maybe, you know, I don't know. That's my problem, is I don't know where he is exactly. Like, is he busy, you know? Is he dating, or is he, you know, does he have wings? I don't know. Like, it's all that, you know. Is he fighting a war somewhere else? Is he, you know, I don't know. I know he's around, but I don't know where he is.
Did Sam tell you the story about the Bronze Star? He called Josh one day and he said, "How's it going?" And he said, "Anything special happening, Josh?" And Josh was like, "Nah, nothing special. Oh yeah. These guys came up yesterday from Washington, and they gave me a Bronze Star." And Sam was like, "Josh, they gave you a Bronze Star, and you didn't let us know." And he said, "Look, it wasn't for me. It was for the whole platoon." And Sam was like, "Who'd they give the Bronze Star to, Josh?" "Well, they gave it to me, but I didn't deserve it." When we were getting ready to go to his funeral at Arlington, his commander at that time said, just the family down, he said, "And I want you to know that between Grenada and Panama and the Gulf War, I went on 3 missions. And in Josh's short time as a Navy SEAL, he has been on over 100 missions.
I'll give you a quick story about what it was like right after we lost him. When they brought him home, we weren't sure what day he was going to make it back here. And we got the call that morning. And when we left this house and we drove into town, across town to go to the airport, it maybe took 20 or 30 minutes to get there, and then they offloaded him from this jet they flew him in on. When they put him in the hearse and they drove him to the funeral home downtown. And again, we just found out that he was coming home. But by the time we drove through downtown, there were hundreds of people in the streets. A lot of them had American flags, or their hands over their heart. And they were out there to welcome him home, because the son of Lexington was coming home.
As I left the city of Lexington, I looked up on the theater marquee, and there was a sign saying, "We love you, Josh." The sense of community that was represented and the intensity that represented was almost overwhelming.
These memorials and things that are honoring him just empower me more, and my family more, and to know how much he was loved and how interesting he was, you know. So it's not hard to do any of those. It's more wonderful and just shows Josh and how great he was and how tremendous of a person he was.
When the shadows of this life have gone, I fly away.
But there's a song that says, I've teared up now and I get emotional if I get, something like, I can't think. I could have missed, does anybody know this? I could have missed the pain. And that's my song to Josh. I could have missed the pain, but then I'd had to miss the dance, you know? And I would never have missed that dance. Not ever.
Fly away in